Welcome back to another edition of Car Thoughts. This week we are talking about the video game industry as a whole as we travel from here to there. So, right now we are sitting on a big effort to try to reclaim the video game industry's past. And there is a really big push to fight against the past. All the video game juggernauts, like Nintendo mainly, do not want you looking at their past. Why? I don't know. It's hard to imagine. They want you to constantly look to the future. They don't want their past brought up, but it's unknown why. They want to wait for the right time to bring out their old IPs. But more on that later. So, there are archivists fighting to bring back all these old classic games. If you think about it, there are more games that have been created since the dawn of video games than what mankind can actually play. But we have lost so many of these games. It's just absolutely ridiculous how many of these games that we have lost. It's just kind of sad. But then when somebody tries to collect these games and distribute them for free, they get shut down. I mean, massively shut down. Then sued. And that's not right. If they try to make a profit off of these games for their hard effort, they get sued again. So if they're sponsored to try to find them, they got to jump through all these legal hoops, and then the collections are very small, and they're just repeats of things that we've seen hundreds of times over and over again, and they're nothing that's new. You'll just start seeing like Capcom's greatest hits over and over again, and it's just released by Capcom. Nothing new. So, what's the deal? Why is this all we're seeing is like Atari releasing some of their back catalog, or Capcom releasing some of their back catalog? Some of the well-known names, and nothing really special. Nothing all that great. All these big IPs not willing to do anything with their IP collections. There's no real good answer. The big answer is actually probably pretty simple. These IP juggernauts that hold their IPs, Sega, Nintendo, Sony, Atari, and others, Neo Geo, and the likes, are just kind of waiting for the right moment. And that's the thing. They're all waiting for the right moment. When is the right moment to release your classic IPs to get the most bang for your buck? Well, who knows? You don't want to release your IPs and not make money off of them. But then you don't want to disappoint the fans and release an IP that's so expensive that it's out of the reach of the fans. So what do? How do you find the middle ground? Because I know back in the day, it used to be that they wanted you to be able to play these IPs at home, and they wanted you to be able to, have these collections. But today it's the exact opposite. They don't want you to have these collections. They don't want you to play their past games. We're in such a really weird time. See, they want you to play the games legally, but yet they don't want you to play the games at all. Kind of weird, right? If you think about it for a second. They want you to obtain their ancient hardware and ancient software to play the games legally, or you don't play the games at all. So how do you go about playing their games? You don't. You gotta wait for them to release them. But what if they don't want to release them? Then they sit on their dusty IPs like a dragon sitting on treasure, and nobody gets to see them. The funny thing is, movies constantly are getting re-released. Most of your movies are sitting in a vault somewhere, preserved, waiting to be released in some way, somehow. Most movies are. Even Broadway plays are recorded. And if you need to see that play for a school project, you can actually go down and view that play, believe it or not, for school. But video games are not preserved in the same way. And there are so many games. It's ridiculous. But yet, games have just a ridiculous amount of legal hoops. And some of the biggest offenders of the whole you can't distribute our IPs is Nintendo. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There has been so many file sharing sites that were distributing Nintendo software. Yes, unfortunately, they were distributing newer software along with older software. But Nintendo was claiming that they were getting damaged even by the old Game Boy and NES software in the days of the Switch system software. Now, the question is, how were they being damaged by something that wasn't in existence? I mean, they weren't selling Nintendo games like NES, but yet they were claiming they were being damaged by it. Well, they weren't exactly doing the whole ROM thing. Not really. I mean, they're doing it now. Maybe at the time they were considering it. They're using the Nintendo ROMs as a paid service, which means that they could take them away at any time. And they do. You stop paying for Nintendo Plus, they take it away. because they don't understand that gamers like to play old games. But that's not what it's about. It's about history. People like to see where games came from, how far we've come from the days of single pixels to, almost full motion FMV videos that are under our control. I actually have a game right now that is a movie-based game. And this just blows my mind. This game's called Erica. And it was released for the PS4 and it's on the PS5. And this just blows my mind that you can actually decide what this movie does based on choices. I grew up with the Atari as one of my base systems. I mean, we're talking very low polygon, not even polygons. We're talking pixels. I mean, I had the Nintendo. I didn't have very many games on the Nintendo. I had a few. I had a Super Nintendo. My family had a Sega Genesis. We didn't have that many games, but there are thousands of games that have been lost to time. PC games, mostly. And it's just a shame that those games will never see the light of day again. And here's the funny thing. It used to be at one time that magazines, computer magazines, used to dedicate pages upon pages upon pages of code that you used to be able to code your own video games. Just follow the code, type it in, and you had your own video game. It was amazing stuff. Those are gone. It's just a shame. We'll never see those things again. And there used to be games on cassettes. I had, growing up, a few of those cassettes. They were the craziest things. When the cassette would run out, take the cassette, flip it over, and continue playing your game. It was crazy back then. Early computers. But hey, maybe one day we'll get past all these people with their whole, we got to protect our assets, instead of saying, hey, why don't we get together and say this is not quite as valuable as, 45-year-old software, 50-year-old software, and people need to see this. Who knows? But hey, thanks for listening to me and my thoughts today. And thanks for traveling with me from here to there. And remember that you are loved and appreciated. And remember, if you like the video, like and subscribe, leave a comment below. And thanks for riding. Bye.